Monday, I'm gonna love you. And on a Tuesday, I'm gonna hug you. And on a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, gonna love you. Oh.
The Juno Awards. They're a Canadian staple of music celebration dating back to something like 1964, when they were called the Gold Leaf Awards and presented in the back of RPM magazine. That's not the car magazine that exists now. That's something completely different. When it became a televised show in 1975, it became what official people call a wonderful event showcasing the best of Canadian music and what people who actually liked music called a steaming pile of corporate backwash that was somehow less entertaining and less important than the Grammys. Junos get a bad rap because they've done the math wrong. See, they want to do a show that resembles the Grammys as much as possible, but the Canadian music scene is way different than the Americans. It's smaller, it's more specific. That makes it nearly impossible to pull it off without relying heavily on Canadian artists who've cashed in big down south. And this explains why Shania Twain, Avril Lavigne, and Nickelback hold seemingly every single Juno award ever given out in the last 20 years. Because the awards are based off of sales and not artistic accomplishment, the Junos largely become a celebration of radio-friendly pablum. Congratulations, Headley. Yes, you've sold more records to every 11-year-old girl with a hipster haircut and a fetish for pompadours than everyone else. You're obviously the best band of the year. But something has been happening lately in the Canadian music scene that has, by extension, changed the face of the Junos. The advent of indie music is beginning to make sales traction now, largely because of the internet leveraging propaganda power away from television, but also because mainstream pop music literally hasn't moved in 6 years, and even people who listen to light rock FM get sick of the same old shit eventually. All of a sudden we've got people like Leslie Feist selling millions of records. Now while no doubt skinny, sunken-eyed Toronto hipsters are feeling betrayed by all this, it's impossible not to realize that this is a good thing for Canadian music, both locally, a way for people to get over the stigma that Canada was the one country in the world stupid enough to allow a band to give themselves the name Default. And since 2007 was such an interesting musical year, it's inevitable, right, that the 2008 Junos would reflect this. And it did, by and large. First and foremost, we have to give the Junos credit for keeping the best international artist off the air, guaranteeing that the show was 100% Canadian. Only 2 of the performers, those being Avril Lavigne and Michael Bublé, are known as much in the States as they are in Canada. But even including the 2 of them, one can't deny the fact that diversity is huge in Canadian pop music at the moment. The list of performers reflected quite the range, I thought. You got candy pop by Avril, you've got the Sinatra nostalgia by Bublé, you've got the rock and indie stuff by Feist, you've got contemporary easily listening with Anne Murray, some random country singers doing random country songs, you've got the emo prom punk with Headley, and the insanely intimidating R&B with Jully Black. And this all showed us that while not everything is perfect, we're at least heading in interesting directions. Oh, there was also some shit new metal by Figure 11, but I think even everyone in the audience recognized that that was the requisite piss break. Whoever produced the show made the genius choice to cram in as much live performance in those 2 hours as possible, leaving only enough time to give away 7 awards. And since most of the performances were by kids, by Canadian music standards, the show seemed like a positive assessment of what we're going to in the future. The other noticeably positive point was the clear dichotomy between Avril Lavigne and Feist. In today's era of corporate everything, I didn't think there was a single chance Avril wouldn't walk away with every single award, just like Nelly Furtado did last year, where she hosted the show, won every single award, and I believe became Prime Minister of the country. But the only awards that Avril was given was during the press conference the night before, whereas Feist was awarded 3 of the 7 televised awards. It was as if completely different people were in charge this year, both in terms of who decide the winners and also who buys the music. And for once, I'm not sure that those are 2 different people. However, given all that, the Junos were still a bit of a slog, and that was because of the structure. The presentation of awards through the use of podiums, stupid speeches, and bumper comedians is incredibly archaic at this point. Nobody's entertained by all of this. Not in the age of indie, not in the age of the internet, not in the age of the 1 minute attention span. You know, it's now a given as well that the best bands in the country aren't necessarily the ones that sell the most records. Everyone recognizes this. So why are they still basing awards off of sales? Well, I'd love to see music awards become relevant. And I'd love to say relevant again, but there was only one small era where I can remember anyone ever giving a shit about award shows. And that was in the mid-90s when the Much Music Video Awards were doing their show in what seemed to be 700 feet below the surface of the earth in these long, snaky hallways and dimly lit arenas where they gave out the awards on the floor. Musicians hung around the actual fans. There was no real stage except for when, you know, performers were actually playing. And oh yeah, the performers weren't necessarily completely A-listers. Take this video with Hayden from 1997.
Fine performance by an artist who actually began as a music video director. He directed videos for Head, for Anne, and then finally for himself. He does gorgeous, gorgeous work. Plus, he is known for his absolutely fabulous, suburban, sensitive crooning. Please welcome Hayden.
Of course, the MMVAs eventually went the way of the MTV Awards. Bright, splashy, and taking up half a city block. And might I say 1,000 times more boring than it used to be. Maybe because they barricade the crowd now. I don't know. But the 90s MMVAs proved to me at least one thing. That there's more than one way to give awards to rock stars, and that the status quo is, even when it's surprisingly good, like this year's Junos, far more boring than it could be.
I got out of bed today, swear to God couldn't see my face. I got out of bed today, staring at a ghost who forgot to float away. Didn't have all that much to say, wouldn't even tell me his own name. And where'd my body go? Well, where'd my body go? Africa or Mexico?
Touch your face if I decided not to sigh at all. Could I be the empty space? Oh, darling, can I touch your face and let your skin be my hiding place? I promise I won't take up too much room. Forever isn't far, it's coming soon.
The preceding videos were basically my spotlight of the week. All of those artists were either nominated or won Juno Awards, and they're all Canadian, and they're all fantastic. Have a good week, everyone.
Do it for ya, baby, for the love that I seek. Pray for ya, baby, every day of the week. I scrub your dirty clothes. I do a whole lot more. I wash your dirty clothes to have a little loving for the weekend goes. But I'll be 7 days full of